Hello Ride On people, time to ride.
So the Ducati 1260 variable valve Multistrada. So immediate impressions of the Multistrada. Well, engine. This has got an engine for sure. It's really feels punchy, much punchier than say the R1200 GS. Although that is getting the variable valve timing itself next year in a hiking capacity of up to 1250, which will help even the playing field a little bit more. But this is definitely the boss engine. I'm not so keen on the seating position. It feels quite like sportier Ducatis. It kind of cups you a little bit and it kind of pushes you forward somewhat. Definitely got plenty of grunt. I like the way this feels in terms of the engine. Screen is nice, super clear, very clear clocks. Also the windshield lifts quite nicely. It's a much better design than the GS, which is a nightmare with the turn wheel, and it's very difficult to raise at unless you're actually at a standstill. When you've got wind pressure, it's hard to lift it. The Triumph is slightly better. It has a kind of push forward lift, pull back type design with a catch, but this has a single lift lever and it goes down and up very sweetly. These clocks are not as nice as the new TFTs on the GS, but they are super clear, I'll give them that. We might have a faller. What? Well, we're missing somebody. What do you think so far? It's crazy. It's good, isn't it?
They're on the way back, though, but they're okay.
Okay, cool. The mirrors are an odd shape on the Multistrada. They kind of always have been, really, but they are on pretty wide stalks and they are pretty free of vibes, although this right one, it actually, now say that, is vibrating a little bit. We're only doing 40 miles an hour in third gear. This is definitely the athletic bike of the adventures. When you look at the kind of top heavy Triumph Tiger and the brilliant all-rounder but not the most powerful GS as its main competitors, it's definitely sporty. KTM of course is also sporty, but this really is the kind of sportier on-road bike, whereas the KTM's always got a little bit more prowess if the road turns into gravel. It's my brother-in-arm's Jerry up ahead. Obviously forgotten how turn signals work. Thinks he's on his GS with auto cancel. He thinks I've left my turn signal on and it's him. That's funny. This engine really is lovely. It's a thing to behold. I think with a better seat and shaft drive, I'd be there. I'd want a Multistrada 1260. It's a good bike. But you know, friends that have owned Ducatis, even though it's a totally different experience from 10 or 20 years ago, friends with current model Ducatis, Multistrada included, still seem to have a few problems with their bikes. I'm having a problem finding neutral. Oh, here we go. Just find it. It's time to go. Heat grips on this are very hot, which is always a godsend if you ride all year round. And if you own your Multistrada and you don't ride all year round, what the hell are you doing? This engine's putting out about 160 PS or horsepower. There's bags of torque, I would estimate 85, 90 pounds of torque, maybe even 100. It doesn't seem to matter what gear you're in, what speed you're doing. You just open the throttle and there's instant power, and it's very addictive, that power. Very easy to access on the Multistrada, and definitely makes the ride enjoyable, but it's a little bit keener to get going rather than cruise on a steady throttle. That will either appeal if you really like sporty bikes, or you'll kind of think, no, actually I want to do 300 miles in comfort and be able to cruise on a steady throttle and it feel totally sublime, in which case the GS is usually the better option for that kind of mindset. The switchgear on this is backlit, which is always nice at night time. You know, with these bikes getting so much equipment on them, so many switches, it's always nice to have them backlit so you can read them at night, even if it's your own bike and you're fairly familiar with it. Like this little dinky reservoir, that's pretty sweet. Suspension wise, got the Skyhook suspension still, semi-active, and yeah, it rides along very nicely. Definitely firmer than the GS, and I think that's on the whole a good thing. The GS is a little bit soft, and when you put GS in dynamic to firm it up, it kind of does a fairly decent job, but it can feel a bit too firm after a while and uncomfortable, whereas this feels firm but comfortable. And I think for doing big miles, that could be a bonus, could be a boost. Chain drive is totally unobtrusive, very smooth on this. It's very nice. It's a nice bike to ride. What can I say? I've ridden it once before, and on that particular ride, what I found was I was going very fast in a downhill off-camber bend. Halfway around the bend with some traffic lights, and they turned red just at the wrong time, as they tend to do, and I had to slam on the brakes to pull the bike up in time. And the real problem was massive understeer. It really pushed the bike wide. It's a combination of geometry, which is slightly lazier with this particular model than its predecessor, and the weight and the situation. You know, it was quite off camber, quite a sturdy turn, but it had me worried because it had me thinking, well, if I'm going fast on it in the mountains or something, and I come around a corner and you see a bear or a hiker or, you know, broken down car or something like that, you've got to make this bike handle, and you know, and it wasn't just a case of, oh, you've got to bully it a bit, you've got to use a bit of muscle, you've got to give it more counter steer than you would like to. It was a case of, geez, it's not doing what I want it to do. It's really pushed wide, and it actually pushed me into the second lane. Fortunately, that particular lane was forward as well, rather than you know, going the opposite way. It could have been a very nasty situation though, if that lane was going in the opposite direction and the car was coming. It could potentially have a head on, and that would have been all she wrote. So it really put me off the 1260, but I have to say today so far it's not a particularly spirited ride, but it's not dog slow either, and not noticing any problems in terms of its steering today. Sometimes I think when you ride a bike you love it to death, or you notice some foibles about it that you don't like, and it's always worth riding it a second time to reinforce whether your initial impressions were as expected, or whether actually no, it's not the case. So sometimes something can seem absolutely sublime, and then you ride it again and little things begin to niggle you and annoy, and vice versa. Sometimes you can think, I love the bike 100%, there's just one thing that really annoys me and puts me off, and the next time you ride it you think, actually it wasn't a problem, or it wasn't too bad, or it was me, or once the bike's bedded in it felt fine. And I think that's kind of a wise lesson to either have a very long demo ride. Fortunately my dealer's brilliant, and they will let me have a bike overnight if I need it, if I really want to evaluate it. And that's good, you know, ride the bike 100 miles, 200 miles, whatever, and really get to know it, and that will tell you whether it's for you or not. And if you can't do that, try and ride it a couple of times. Even if it's a processional demo ride like this, where you ride the bike once and then you think maybe it's my next bike, but I'm still not sure. If nobody else is riding it, go out on it again. That's what they're there for. You know, that's why I'm here today. It's kind of your duty to ride demo bikes. Dealers putting them on for you. The kindness of their heart and the deepness of their pockets. And they don't have to. They just want to keep you happy. So why not take them at their word? Go and ride one or two things and see whether it makes you happy or not. I think in terms of this ride, I'm enjoying the Multistrada more than the first time I rode it, but I'm noticing different things, and that's why it's important to ride it a couple of times. Now, this particular ride, I'm happier with the handling than I was the first time. I still think it grabs very, very slightly compared with the GS, which steers so brilliantly and sweetly, but it's not necessarily a deal breaker. But the first thing, one thing I didn't notice the first time I rode it was the seat, and I'm finding with this seat, maybe it's, I don't know, I know it's height adjustable like the GS, but I don't know whether like the GS it's pitch adjustable, whether it can be lower at the front and higher at the back type thing, and that's kind of the way it feels at the moment. It feels pitched forwards, so that might be, you know, again, something easily rectified, but it doesn't really do it for me. That if you want a track day, that's what you'd want. You want something throwing all your weight over that front end, but you know, when you're adventure cruising, touring for want of a better expression, a flatter seat that doesn't throw you over the tank and over the handlebars is generally preferable for comfort. Definitely struggling to find neutral. Feels more like a Harley in that respect. I wonder how Jerry's getting on. Looks like a bicycle, doesn't it, with him on top. Pretty awesome little bike though. I enjoyed riding that. Managed to stall the bike back there at the lights, and one thing I really hated was I couldn't just hit the starter. It seemed like I had to pull down the starter slide and let it go through its sequence before I could start up again. So it took a few seconds to start the bike, and actually in an emergency that might be an issue. I'm not sure. You know, if you needed to, you stalled it and you were in a dodgy situation, you needed the bike to start quickly and move on.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really appreciate all your feedback and support for the Ride On channel. I hope you're already a Ride On subscriber, but if not, please subscribe straight away. And last but not least, ride often, ride carefully, ride on.